DC, hope you're feeling better, and welcome back into the Blitz.
Yeah, Martin, I'm sorry about last week. I was a little under the weather, but I'm feeling much better and glad to be back on the show this week.
All right, glad to have you. We're going to continue our conversation. I don't know, did you get to hear any of the conversation we were having on my outside the box topic about the school fining for bullying?
Yeah, I did. I got to listen in on what was going on the out of the box topic, the bullying, fining bullies in elementary school.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Interesting. Let's see what Gregory has to say. I think Gregory wants to talk with you a little bit about. Okay, James has him right now. So, but what are your thoughts, DC, in terms of where we've come to, where dodgeball is potentially banned because it fosters bullying and a response, and I think is extreme. But supposedly there's already one school there in Wisconsin that's doing it. And then this is another one that was inspired by that idea.
Yeah, I think bullying is a topic across America where we've seen some suicides take place, letters they've written behind talking about being bullied at school and that sort of thing. And I think it's just an overreaction like we do in the wrong direction to try to solve a problem that exists. And no one's saying bullying doesn't exist. Bullying existed when I was in school, back in elementary school. I was bullied, being an overweight fat kid. That was something I went through. But hey, my Uncle Bud set me aside, and when everybody wanted to do something for me and told me, no, you got to do it for yourself. And he taught me and gave me the tools to go to school and handle the bullying. Because he told me if I didn't learn to do it now, I'd be fighting against evil the rest of my life. And if he did it for me now, then it would cripple me, and I wouldn't be the same person. So I think I turned out pretty good. I think we're replacing regulations and fines and pronouncements of bullying for organizations. We've replaced parenting, and I think parents need to be parents. Teach their kids how to get involved in their kids' life, first of all, to know what's going on in their life, and then teach them and give them the skills the tools to tackle that when you go to school. And teachers ought to be teachers, and administrators ought to be administrators, and keep it within the confines of the school. And we ought not to have a committee or a board tell us to find somebody on bullying. We ought to be able to take care of that ourselves.
I totally agree with you. And as you said, bullying happened, has always happened, and it's still going to happen, and it's going to happen in adulthood. And you should not let a bully run rampant, but you should also parents, along with the other adult figures from schools to churches, etc., should.
Mark, I know people don't want to talk about this because they don't like to talk about spiritual things, but I know you're a believer, and a lot of your listeners are believers, and we deal against the biggest bully ever every day. The devil's at work every day, and he's a big bully. Yep. He's a liar, and the Bible gives us tools how to deal with him. And I think that we need to impart wisdom into our kids on how to deal with bullies. The evil exists in the world. If they succumb to bullies in elementary school, it'll cripple them for life. So we ought not have someone else rescue them. We ought to teach them how to handle a bully. I
think bullies work off of fear, and I think fear is a spirit. And of course, we're told that God didn't give us a spirit of fear or a spirit of intimidation, but a spirit of power, love, and a sound mind. And that's what we need to be empowering our kids with. DC, let's jump back into the box and talk a little bit about some things going on in Alabama football. First of all, did you see the news? I think these two are directly related. Alabama losing at this point could come back to the class. 6'4", 220-pound Gadsden, Alabama native, DeRicky Wright, strong safety, outside linebacker, athlete, decommits yesterday. And we found out later on in the day that a highly ranked edge rusher, Will Anderson, out of Georgia, commits later that day or around the same time. Think those two are directly related?
I think so. I don't think it's uncommon. I think right now is the time of camps. camps are going on. Got kids coming in that are making strides that may have been committed elsewhere or been leaning elsewhere. They get to Alabama and make decisions to come. Then there's got to be room for them there. I believe every coach at Alabama and Coach Saban is honest with players, and I think sometimes we get a decommitment when they're in an area where there's going to be a commitment from a higher 4-star or 5-star player. I think this offseason, as far as commitments, has been going really well. I mean, Sal Sunseri, Charles Kelly, they have been really pounding pavement. Carl Scott making some inroads in the areas they didn't think they had chances, and these kids are just flipping or deciding on Alabama, and everybody can't come to Alabama, and so you gotta pick and choose.
When you look at this Alabama recruiting class, it's I mean, I'm looking at some of the guys they're high on, and I think recruiting is one of the biggest momentum activities or parts of college football, and guys want to go where they think they're going to win. And Alabama currently sitting at 20 commitments with the decommitment and then commitment of Anderson and decommitment of Wright. Do you think you're going to see any other guys, or based on some of the guys out there, Alabama picking up and dropping some other guys?
Yeah, I think it's a very possibility. There's some guys out there that haven't made a decision yet if they were to choose Alabama, and there definitely has to be some room for them because of their 5-star quality or high 4-star quality. So I think that's very possible between now and signing day that you'll see some more flips, more commitments, and that sort of thing. So I don't think that's uncommon. It's always been that way in Alabama. The best of the best want to come here, want to play for championships. Some players are coming here because they're Alabama through and through, and some are really on the fence about where they're going to go, but they're going to choose what's best for their career, and Alabama's have choice. So sometimes on those you have to wait toward the end of the recruitment cycle for them to make their decisions, and when they do, there has to be room for them.
DC, when you look at this recruiting class, Alabama seems to be, hitting a home run, and when it comes to outside linebackers, they got 4 guys from that position that are in the top 100. They've gotten several offensive linemen, but when you look at it, where do you think these 5 spots, where do you think Alabama needs to go or has to go to round out this class, forgetting about whether they end up ranked, number 2, number 3, number 1, et cetera?
Well, I think Alabama's got to go for some middle linebackers. I think that's a need right now. I think that you might see them pick up a big name tight end going down the stretch here in this last few. But I think Alabama are always going to use. I think there's some big name players out there with defensive line help. I think Alabama can always use people on the defensive line. So I think that's 3 areas probably Alabama will concentrate in on these last 5 picks.
Alabama this past year had a couple of young guys, Evan Neal, Dalcourt, that came in and immediately got themselves into the conversation on the offensive line. And this 2019 class just got bolstered by the grad transfer Landon Dickerson from Florida State, has 2 years of eligibility. Does Landon Dickerson get himself into that rotation with that first 5? And if so, who may be the odd man out in this rotation, and where do you think Saban and Flood's going to go with this offensive line?
Well, I think Dickerson has the potential, but I think he also has 2 years of eligibility remaining, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
So
he does.
I think he's coming in more as a backup and possible with the potential to play himself into the starting rotation. But I really think that he's coming in more or less for a backup. I don't think you can ever have too many offensive linemen with injuries and things that take place and just attrition. So I think maybe he's coming in for a backup and then with potential to play himself into a starting role, take over for an injured player, or he may just be good enough to beat out some of those guys in front. But right now, I think they're pretty solid on their starting 5, and if he comes in and plays himself in, then I think he'll get the job. He's going to play the best player, so there's potential for that. But I don't think that's why he's transferred here. I think he's transferred for depth. For Alabama's reasons for depth and because he has 2 years of eligibility. And next year might be the year for him.
With DC Capstone Report. DC, we were going to break there, and PFF College, which is Professional Football Focused College Edition. It's a great follow. They did a lot with analytics and statistics, and you can kind of make statistics say whatever you want and read however you want. But this is one that rates passer rating when targeted, returning wide receivers with a minimum of 50 targets. This is not what they did when not necessarily how many times they were targeted, not how many yards they had, but based on the number of targets and what they did with those targets, how efficient they are. And there's 3 of Alabama's receivers listed. Jalen Waddle came in the top 5. He's number 4 at 141.7. Henry Ruggs III came in at 142.7. That's third. And Devontae Smith came in at 146.5. The glaring missing name there is when it comes to this particular stat, passer rating when targeted with 50 targets or more, Jerry Jeudy not listed. How scary is that if you're looking at from an efficiency standpoint that 3 of the 4 are there and Judy's not one of them?
Yeah, well, I've said on your show several times, people can check it out. I've said that Alabama has, in my opinion, the best receiving corps in the nation, the number 1 receiving corps. That's one of the statistics that'll back that up. But, there's a very good reason why Jerry Judy's not listed there. If you look, you got to go PFF, they do a great job. They do a lot of analytics. But what they're doing, they're looking at specific things. And here they're looking at specific when they're targeted. And what they're going to do is what the passer rating is higher. So, therefore, when you target someone and they catch the ball and yards after catch, that all makes a difference in the passer rating and that sort of thing. Here, Jerry Jeudy, Jalen Waddle, and Devonta Smith definitely make the quarterback look good and make their passer rating go up because they catch so many slants, which is a short pass that'll take it deep. Also, great possession receivers. Jerry Jeudy is more of a go guy, go route. It's a lot longer pass, has to be more accurate pass. And it's a lot of deep shots thrown to him where the passer actually may miss him or overthrow him. So that's why he's not listed in there. Those are the top 5 wide receivers in my opinion of any. There's not another college team that can put 5 wide receivers on the field that is talented or as good as those 5. So that is very scary when you come up against them to try to defend against Alabama.
Unfortunately, the other 2 guys are Oklahoma's DeeDee Lamb and Clemson's Justin Ross. DeeDee Lamb at number 2, Justin Ross at number 5. But you bring up a good point. Devontae Smith and is also, I think, Jeudy being targeted even more. Also, David, when you look at the opportunity to catch touchdowns, I think when you get close to the red zone, I think people tend to do some things to try to keep the ball out of Judy's hands because he's so dangerous. And we know Ruggs' efficiency at getting into the end zone, and Smith and Waddle have had that same type of effect. So, but when you look at these guys, DC, you said best in the nation. Is this potentially the best best set 4 wide receivers Alabama's ever had? And I'd be hard pressed to try to think of any team having this many potential number 1 guys on the same team.
I agree 100%. I think it's definitely the best 4 or 5 guys Alabama's ever had on any one team. And I don't know of any receiving corps you can talk about in the nation of college football, SEC or otherwise, that's had that many on one team. So I think it's the best ever as far as receiving corps.
All right, DC Capstone Report. You can find it at dccapstonereport.com. DC, I guess it's the chicken and the egg question. Is it the receivers or is it the quarterback? Because the same group put out the SEC quarterback ratings, minimum of 160 passes. Tua Tagovailoa grading out at the highest by over 5 points better. Then second place, Jarrett Garantino of Tennessee, followed by Jake Fromm, Joe Burrows, and Kellen Mond. But Tua Tagovailoa rated as the highest quarterback, highest graded quarterback, not rated, highest graded quarterback Is it a chicken or the egg? Of course, the third option is it a little bit of both.
I think a little bit of both. You can't catch the ball unless somebody throws it. You can't throw it unless you got somebody to throw it too. So it's got to be a combination of the quarterback and receiving core. And this quarterback and receiving core is one of the best, if not the best, Alabama's ever had.
And that's what's crazy about it is we're looking at a time where I think Alabama. I believe Alabama is going to try to become more balanced this year, so that we don't find ourselves in a situation where if they take away the pass that we can't go to the run. But I also think that you're going to see them play Tua a little bit longer in the games, DC, while developing that balance. So Tua's going to have an opportunity to potentially up those statistics, even though we're also going to have to get some work in for the young guys. Where do you see Alabama going in terms of that with this type of receiving core, with this type of quarterback, with these type of ratings? How do you think they're going to attack opponents in terms of Tua and his team? More likely Tua to get 4,000 yards, just to have two 1,000-yard rushers.
Well, first of all, I think Alabama is going to do what Alabama does, and I think that take advantage of whatever the defense gives them. But I think Alabama is going to be able to run the ball this year, and Alabama's going to be able to throw the ball this year. Some people have think I'm crazy when I say this, but I think Alabama's ability to run the ball this year will open up more opportunities for our passing game than we had last year. And when you think about that, it sounds crazy. We're taking away opportunities by running the ball, but I don't think so. I think the better we run the ball, the more opportunities we're going to have to throw the ball. And I think last year, being able to shut down the run and making us throw the ball took away some valuable opportunities for us to make completed passes. So I think this year we're going to have a more efficient in our passing game because our running game is going to be good. So I look for Tua to throw us to have 1,000-yard rusher and Tua to have 4,000 yards passing. I think he can do that based on what I've seen so far, or what I think they're headed. And off-season workouts have really been good. It seems like everybody's head's in the right place. A lot of leaders on the team, and I believe Alabama's going to take advantage of whatever the other team gives them. And if what I think happens, I think we're going to run the ball and throw the ball better than last year.
I know I put you on the spot, but total yards for for Tua and the first two running backs.
I think Tua will have about possibly 4,100 yards passing. I think you'll have you'll be close to have a 1,000-yard rusher, and the second one won't be too far behind, somewhere in the 800 or 900.
Ooh, so that's you're saying somewhere around 6,000 yards, just with the not the total offense, but just Tua's offensive passing numbers and the starting running backs.
Unless Tua gets hurt, I look for him to play in a lot more games.
Yeah.
This year, I think he'll have a lot more opportunities than he had last year.
Yeah.
I think he'll play longer in games this year, and I think we're going to rely heavily on our first two running backs. We'll have a third down back that'll come in. We always do, but I think it'll be more heavily. I think this year, I believe it's the year that Najee Harris is going to get all the carries that he wants. I really believe that. I believe that's where we're headed.
All right, we got a poll question up, DC. We're looking for the All-Saban team. It's kind of a foregone conclusion based on the numbers that the first two guys are going to be Julio Jones and Amari Cooper. When you look at the wide receivers under Nick Saban, Calvin Ridley and DJ Hall and Jerry Jeudy and all these guys, who's your third guy?
Right now, probably Calvin Ridley would be third, but Jerry Jeudy could probably pass him this year. I think I'd take any of these five that's on the team this year, put him in third spot.
That's right.
That. I mean, TJ Hall's probably in there, but he's down my list somewhere. He's probably below these other five. There's been some other wide receivers that Alabama's had that have been good, but not great. And I think these five have potential to be great. Just imagine if Julio Jones had other people around him where he didn't get double teamed as much as he did. Go back and look at some of Julio Jones's double teams that he had against Alabama. If you're not going to be able to double team Jerry Jeudy and leave one of these other guys wide open, because if you do, they're going to pick you apart all day long. So this is a potential setup for the best passing attack Alabama's ever had this year.
In a 15-game season and other options in today's style of offense, how many yards does Julio Jones get in a college season?
Oh man, I think Julio Jones in a 15-game season, you it's unimaginable what he could do if you actually target him. I mean, we're talking about a couple thousand yards of receiving, which is unbelievable.
Yeah.
He is just great, and I don't think he's ever had the specimen, the athletic ability, or the catching ability in a wide receiver like Julio Jones. He would definitely be number one. Mark Cooper would be number two. You're right. You could open up number three to a bunch of wide receivers.
Yeah, I'm like you. I think Julio Jones in a 15-game season in today's game, with as much as they throw, goes over 2,000 yards.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he shatters that. C.J. Watson says Calvin Ridley is a clear third right now, and I think he's saying that he thinks is Calvin Ridley and then Jerry Jeudy nipping at his heels. Jalen Waddle's going to have something to say about that by the time he gets out of here, but we'll move on from that conversation. Come back on the other side. DC, I want to ask you a question about A.J. McCarron. It was an article up about him and being Deshaun Watson's backup. I want to ask you a question about A.J., his career, and is he one of those guys that's going to get caught up in that NFL machine and be a lifetime backup, or do you think he still has a window and opportunity to possibly get a starting job? And we'll talk about that and got a couple other questions for you. We're talking to DC Capstone Report. DC Capstone Report. You're back in with the Blitz. So tomorrow we'll have our Johnson & Marshall Dentistry Christian Moment of the Week, brought to you courtesy of Johnson & Marshall Dentistry. Find them online at dentisttuscaloosa.com. Scotty Hollins of Blueprint Ministries always brings us a challenging and encouraging word of how we can incorporate our faith into our boardroom, classroom, or on our field of play or competition. That'll be tomorrow in the fourth quarter, and we're looking forward to that. DC, before we get too far into this conversation, I want you to tell us when you guys are going to be launching things again and getting some new podcasts up at DC Capstone Report.
Yeah, we're still on a little hiatus. What we do is we take off until right after the 4th of July. We come right back right before Media Days, SEC Media Days. So you can expect a podcast to go up the week before Media Days. I think 15th through the 17th is Media Days in July this year. So up to then, Lance will still be posting up some videos and different things on our website for you to look at, to reminisce about Alabama football. Sometimes we do have a special podcast when something takes place, but this year, as I said earlier at the beginning, there really hasn't been any off-season big news to come out of Alabama, right. And that's been good. I said it's the biggest thing came out of Alabama this year was Coach Saban's hip replacement surgery. We'd have a great off-season. So that's what's happened this year. So that's good.
All right. Before I ask you the AJ question, I want to dig a little deeper on this. The transfer portal. Give it a grade right now, as Alabama has benefited from it and lost players from it, and that's kind of the story around. Just give it a grade right now, and then we'll visit that conversation later on.
B. B is good. It's not great. It's got its flaws. It's about around a B minus.
All right, let's flip over, and I asked that for a reason, and we'll come back to that at a later point. AJ McCarron, clearly one of the most accomplished players in Alabama history, has gone on to the NFL and had moments, but has not been able to break into that starting rotation. Is AJ, and there's nothing wrong with this, and I hope no one hears me putting shame on it, but is AJ going to be one of those victims of the NFL system and processes that potentially leads him to be a backup for the remainder of his career?
Well, it's possible, but I think he's been in some situations where it just hasn't been a great fit for him. But I think now he's really in a good place. I think with the coach there and with Deshaun Watson, I think he's in a good place. I think he'll have opportunities to play there. Deshaun Watson is a great player, athletic player, but I think they want to maintain his good health. So I think that A.J. McCarron will actually be a backup who can help him. So I think it's a good place to play. He has an opportunity. I believe it may be an injury or something that has to happen for him to step in and get that opportunity. You don't wish that on anyone.
Right.
I think he's available and is very worthy of a great backup, but also be able to start at some point in his career should he get the opportunity. But sometimes those opportunities just don't come.
And that was my question: is do you believe that AJ could be a winning quarterback in the NFL?
I do. I do think he has skills. I think he's learned now through these years. He's been a backup, and I think he knows the do's and don'ts. And so yeah, I think in this day and time in NFL, I think he has he's the type of quarterback that can win a game and win for your team. And it's no one's ever questioned AJ's heart. No one's ever questioned his love for the game. And I think that's something in the NFL that you need over that long stretch to be able to lead the team. And he definitely has those skills.
Yeah, I'm hoping he's one of those guys that not because of somebody getting injured or something, but someone sees enough in him and he finds himself in that place where he gets that opportunity. Because I believe he showed himself to be that caliber of player when he got his chance at Cincinnati and had Burkett or Burbett, whatever his name is, not made the bonehead play in the playoff game. Cincinnati's drought of winlessness in the playoffs would have ended it with AJ leading the team.
I agree 100%. And look at who he had around him at Cincinnati. He did that. If you give him a good set of skill players around him, he could tear up the NFL. Here's my chicken or egg question. You give AJ McCarron the same wide receivers at Alabama today that Tua has. What kind of passer rating do you think AJ McCarron would have? The king of the short passes would be able to hit. You had Jalen Waddle and Henry Ruggs coming on those slants, and Devonta Smith and Jerry Jeudy going deep. I don't think you would have any question in anybody's mind that AJ McCarron wouldn't have a great pass rating in Alabama with that kind of skill around him. And you give him that kind of skill to the NFL, he would do the same. Yeah,
I asked the question when we were doing the rating. Tua won the voting 53-47 for the All-Saban quarterback last week. But someone was saying, well, Tua didn't have the same offensive line that AJ had. And I asked the question, would you rather, if you were a quarterback, would you rather be AJ in his offense with that offensive line with a balanced attack, pro style, or would you rather be a quarterback with 4 wide receivers in an RPO offense from a strictly quarterback standpoint?
Well, I think for a strictly quarterback, you want the wide receiver who's going to give you the skill to get the ball to him and get it out. That's, AJ McCarron's deal was quick release and get the ball out and protect the ball. Not throwing any interceptions, not putting it where it could be intercepted. And I think you give him those wide receivers Alabama has today, then his pass rating goes up.
And then I'm going to close with this thought. AJ to me was clutch. Big game AJ. I cannot remember a time where AJ didn't come through when he was put in a clutch situation at Alabama.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, you can go back to where he did a terrible game all game long, and then comes back in on that long drive against LSU and hits everybody, threads the needle on everybody, and brings us down and wins the game.
That's right.
Just many game after game after game where his heart came through, his clutch came through, and I think he's, I don't everybody won't agree with this, but I think he is the best overall quarterback in the Saban era, simply because he's not the most talented. He doesn't have the strongest arm. Of course, there are others that are better than that. He's not the most athletic, but he's the best winner that Alabama's produced, and there's a lot goes into a winner more than just athletic ability.
And you and I agree on that. AJ definitely is the number one quarterback, in my opinion, at this point, without a question, and maybe even after Tua makes a nice run and even wins a championship. Let's get out of here. DC, thanks. Tell the listeners real quick where they can find you, and we appreciate you.
Find us at DCCapstoneReport.com. You can check us out on our Facebook page, DC Capstone Report page, or you can follow me on Twitter at DavidCott50, at DavidCott50. Thanks, Martin. Have a great day.
Thanks, DC. Coming back, when we come back from break, you'll have Inside the Locker Room with Wimp and Barry Sanderson. Remember this, trust in the Lord always, lean not your own understanding. All your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths. For the Blitz, I'm Martin Houston. That's James Hardy. That's Aubrey L. Moore. Roll Tide.